All right, you're hearing the sound of Hugh Jackman singing Neil Diamond. That can only mean one thing. First of all, that it's the nose. We are talking about two different movies that are very heavily reliant on music. One of them is Song Sung Blue, the story based on a real story of a Neil Diamond cover group or tribute act or whatever you want to call them. And then a little bit later, we'll talk about Merrily We Roll Along, which has been a Stephen Sondheim project since 1981 and has finally been turned into a hit. And now there's a new movie version of it out. We'll talk about that. But here at the beginning, we'll be talking to Jim Chapdelaine, Emmy-winning musician and patient advocate for people with rare cancers, many other things besides, and Jacques Lamarre, playwright and chief communications officer at Buzz Engine. Carolyn Paine is an actress and comedian. She's the founder and director of CONNetic Dance and the creative producer and choreographer for the Bushnell's Digital Institute. And even that is just scratching the surface. Song Sung Blue, written and directed, by the way, by Craig Brewer, who, among his other projects, is Dolomite Is My Name, a movie which in no way resembles Song Sung Blue. It couldn't be more different. Just a couple other things I would just say before we get going. One of them is, this movie has also done some really interesting things just in terms of kind of viral promotion, including Kate Hudson and Hugh Jackman showing up at somebody's door with Christmas carolers, but to sing Sweet Caroline, and that clip went viral. Jackman also did this really interesting thing where he made trailers for individual movie theaters. And so the trailer would come up there and he would tell the audience before the show, you'd see Hugh Jackman saying, I'd like to thank, the Grand Rapids multiplex, blah, blah. He goes, especially their manager, Chris Pirelli. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm thinking, this is an ingenious thing to do. All right. So before we get them going, too, we should probably play a little clip here. I'm looking in my notes here. So here is A1. This is Hugh Jackman as Mike, a.k.a. Lightning, Kate Hudson as Claire, a.k.a. Thunder. A1, please.
Neil is special, and I just want everyone to get that feeling I get when I listen to America and Forever Blue Jeans.
Sweet Caroline.
Sweet Caroline, yeah, but I'm never going to be the real McCoy. I mean, I don't really look like Neil. I don't even really sound like Neil. And I got to be Neil, but I just got to be me, too.
Yeah, you don't want to be a Neil Diamond impersonator. You want to be a Neil Diamond interpreter.
I was looking for the right way to say it, and you just came right out and said it. A Neil Diamond interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and you can sing some Patsy Cline's songs, like one or two.
I mean, maybe while you're doing a costume change, but no, I don't want to confuse people. I will back you up in keyboards and vocals, but this is about Neil. And this is about his fans,
Yeah.
I can sing the Barbra Streisand part on You Don't Bring Me Flowers.
Right? But we got to get them on their feet and get them clapping. Look up Cherry Cherry.
So I will say that to an unusual degree, the ask for the panel on this movie was a little bit bigger just because people thought they didn't want to see it, right? People thought, really, that's what you're asking me to do here?
I was those people.
Yeah,
I was them.
I mean, Carolyn says that about everything we ask her to do.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, the nose has given us a lot of gifts.
Yeah.
Every now and then we have to see like the Oprah movie, and okay, so that's a penance, but mostly the nose delivers. This one, I went into we had this thing, Janine and I, first we have to watch a movie, and we didn't want to at the time. This is our stages of acceptance. And then it was, it's a Neil Diamond biopic. Nope, it's not that. Oh, it's a Neil Diamond tribute band pick. No, it's not that. Oh, it's $20. Yes, it is that. Then we watched the movie, and we were totally surprised because it was a giant-hearted movie with great actors and very likable characters, and it was really good. And it was none of the things that we thought it was going to be.
It is.
So I plan to come in here really grouchy, and I can't. I can't justify it.
The only thing that I knew about it was that I was hearing that people liked it. But yeah, Caroline, it's hard to sort of single out a particular thing that you didn't want to do. But this, in maybe a very special way, might have been a thing you didn't want to do.
Yeah, I actually had seen this before we even scheduled the show. I know. Everyone just a mic drop of fear.
She was kidnapped.
Yeah, I had gotten, I was asked over to a friend's house for dinner, and then they were like, oh, we're going to watch Song Sung Blue. And so I was like kidnapped into watching this essentially and force fed it. And I was like, all right, sure, you're paying for takeout, so I'll sit here and watch this movie with you. But I was shocked. I was floored. I loved it. And I never thought that was something. And I was prepared to be hating on it the whole time, but instead it was, over 2 hours of me really invested in this movie. I was like laughing. I was almost in tears.
You were in tears.
No, I'm not like a crier. Mm-mm.
I'm not either, but I'm going to confess.
I got verklempt, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, Jacques, time for you to chime in.
And you better have cried.
I came close. But I had been warned by my brother, who had gone to see an early screening of it, that it was a bring your Kleenex kind of film. And seeing the trailer, what have you, I didn't anticipate it was going to be as much in that direction. And it's a very upbeat film until it isn't. And but it does rally, and Neil Diamond looms very large in my family, and he was my father's favorite and listened to him all the time. My siblings adore him. I went to see him in concert many years ago. I was more the Barbra Streisand adopter in the family, being the one gay child. So we met in the middle on Bring Me Flowers. So, I was actually resistant to going to see the film, but I actually do a lot of work promoting tribute bands for a number of my clients. And so I actually have an odd affection for this genre of performer. And so that, when I realized it was about, that it wasn't like the musical Beautiful Noise, which is a bio musical, a jukebox musical, and that this was about interpreters or impersonators, that became more interesting to me.
At some point, you would definitely want to work with a tribute act for another tribute act. So like it would be like Chain Lightning, a tribute act to the Royal Scam, a Steely Dan tribute act,
or a band that knows it's going to get more money as a tribute act to itself.
Oh, that's a good idea too.
Alan, I consider that.
Well, isn't there going to inevitably be like a Thunder and Lightning tribute act now?
Yeah, exactly.
Very probably, yes. Yeah. So there's still money to be made out there. So Jim, I think Neil Diamond kind of closely shadows the process that we just described, in the sense that, actually, my partner went to go see the thing that you were just talking about, Jacques, and I just refused to go see a Neil Diamond jukebox musical, and she came back raving about it. But when we were young, Neil Diamond wasn't uncool. Kentucky Woman was like a really good song.
Solitary Man,
yeah,
great song. But then he started writing about blue jeans. And that became difficult for me. That was a challenge that I had to face. And I didn't really live the challenge down until this movie. And I was like, okay, here comes the blue jean song. I'm going to be good with it.
We got to talk about Kate Hudson. People kind of expect Hugh Jackman to put on a pretty good show, and he absolutely does. But, Carolyn, he's kind of been eclipsed.
Yeah.
Because Kate Hudson comes in here, and haven't really thought about her very much since Almost Famous, which was the year 2000. But she comes in here and she just rocks the movie.
Yeah, that was the first thing that really sucked me in here with this, was her incredible performance. I mean, vocally, she could pursue this career. She should probably go do Broadway shows, record. I'll listen to her sing anything, as it turns out. And then just her performance in general as an actor. For me, this was a huge turning point. Yeah, where I'm going to take notice of Kate Hudson. I'm going to see her in whatever she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacques, I think a lot of us are kind of feeling that way. Kate Hudson, show us what else you can do.
I know, and I went back and looked at her IMDb to see what I had seen her in, and I mean, she's in 9, which is not a great film, but she gives a great performance in it, and she's just got a kind of a small part in a great musical number. And then there was, I think, maybe one other film. The last, not the most recent Knives Out, but the one before that. And she's an utterly charming performer, like her mother. And you know, it's like, I don't know if she's just been in the wrong projects or I haven't seen her in the right things, but she was really a revelation in this.
You know, it's also, Jim, there's sort of a thing that it reminded me a little bit of Elizabeth Taylor in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, because when she first came on the screen, my significant other said, "Oh, well, wow, they really made her chubby." And I said, "Oh, yeah, she's disgusting. I would never want to." You know, it was like Mad Magazine did the same thing about Elizabeth Taylor when she was in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. They like, "This is awful. We wouldn't want our mother to look like that. Our girlfriend maybe, but not our mother." But yeah, I mean, Kate Hudson is like, you know, you can't take your eyes off her.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about what you talked about.
Okay.
Because this is probably being recorded somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
So no. But yeah, her performance is really, really like authentic and genuine. Like you could tell she was so dialed into this. I didn't know she had those chops. I know that she has a band, and I am very afraid of actors with bands.
I know so well why that is, but I don't think that's really something you can't talk about.
Yeah, well, I can. I mean, I worked with Kiefer Sutherland. That's all I have to say about that. So I'll go see Kate Hudson's band now because she's so good.
There were other names you could have said there.
I know. There sure are.
There are some other names.
I have a whole list.
Yeah, a whole look. Yeah, and I think the other part of this is, and we really don't want to spoil anything, but this is a movie that's also, I'll back up from that and just say, Carolyn, I think we don't see in some ways these people that much. These are people living in Wisconsin. They are more or less working class to lower middle class people. They, you know, and they're scraping by too. And I think making that all into this incredibly poignant thing and watching how they can come alive and make an audience come alive. I don't know. I feel like this movie isn't being made enough, this kind of movie.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I didn't think about like the aspect of that we don't see people like this. I mean, I guess working in the arts and like living in that field, like that is kind of the magic of the arts. Like you know, what artist hasn't been going through tough times? Like, you know, when this isn't like a spoiler, but like when they're at the hospital and he's upset because they don't have health insurance as performers. Like I got that on a different level. So there wasn't. You know, I wasn't thinking about it like that. But yes, this is a movie that I feel like also there aren't as many, I think now movies tend to be these like big budget, like they're dealing with a lot more issues. This does have that more of this just kind of humanity, like what I think of movies from the 80s and 90s having more of, kind of more like following a story of individual people.
And there were no zombies or aliens.
Or vampires.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and in all seriousness, Jacques, this is sort of a kick that I've been on lately, and I'm hoping that Bill Usman will teach it in his media studies class, which is that I think increasingly there's an idea that artistic seriousness, particularly on the screen, either involves kind of Tarantino levels of violence or, you know, a lot of really, really raw, explicit sex. And I sort of feel like we're losing something sometimes. I mean, this movie doesn't have either one of those things, and it's we all went into it with a certain amount of apprehension that it was going to be a soap opera or a elevated Lifetime movie of the week. But maybe that's because we've been kind of conditioned to think that movies like this can only be that.
Yeah, I mean, to Carolyn's point, this is the kind of thing that, you know, roamed the countryside freely a few decades ago. And to have something that is heartwarming and shamelessly tear-jerking. You know, I went back and started watching the documentary that this is based on. The documentary is the same title, Song Sung Blue, and you can find the entire documentary on YouTube. Legally, I believe it's actually posted by the filmmaker. And the real Thunder and Lightning are, I mean, it's very similar. The story points are all similar. but they're actually a little more extreme than they're portrayed in the film. And I wasn't really bothered by that. It's like we have the documentary, so I can watch that if I want that more kind of pronounced personality. But I love that they kind of played it down the middle on this, and that I didn't feel bad enjoying it, and didn't feel bad for being emotionally manipulated. I miss that in movies, and I just went to see Avatar, and there is so much money thrown at the screen, and all this technology, and almost zero heart. And I would rather have a small budget emotional experience focusing on real people than a vacant multi-million-dollar extravaganza.
And Jim, I think it's also kind of moving into a different space, because I feel like the space of the musician biopic is gradually being vacated, or at least, I don't dislike the Freddie Mercury movie or the Elton John movie, but I don't need to see a movie about Michael McDonald or something.
I agree. I sort of recoil when I see a musical biopic. I think the last one I liked was Ray.
Yeah.
Which was really good. But the others, especially when the person's alive and still picking, they're still here. So I don't know. There's a lot to know. I think one cool thing about this that was a total surprise and is actually real, and I watched the original film like Jacques did, parts of it, is that Eddie Vedder makes an appearance. And the actor that plays Eddie Vedder doesn't really look like him.
No.
But he does every single mannerism. If you look at the original, he sits in the chair the same way, he's holding the paper. He really nailed it. And
he seems like Eddie Vedder's son, maybe. He's like,
well,
in 10th
Eddie
grade or
Vedder is
something.
really young when you see the original. I think he's still drunk, but he's early drunk. The other thing that I'm a stickler for in these, and the only violation in this movie was Michael Imperioli playing guitar. Who's just that was a distraction for me. First of all, I thought he was going to whack somebody at any moment, but the way he played guitar was not legit, and I get distracted by that in biopics.
Although he
does play.
He has a band and he plays guitar in the band, and they perform a lot.
I'm not defending his performance.
No, I
This is
understand.
not great,
Yeah.
but he is, as I understand it, a musician. I'm doing air quotes with that.
There was a scene with him and the bass player. I won't say where, but the bass player, I clocked him, and he was on the money. He was playing it for real. And Michael Imperioli was not. So that's just a little micro grouse. I was supposed to grouse the whole thing.
Right. If you had Michael Imperioli singing, Buddy Holly going in there, I did not know that any of that was part of this movie.
That whole world was really pretty awesome too, to see see like there's a union of impersonators.
Yes, exactly. So we should talk about some of these supporting performances. There are two performances by daughters, and I think, Carolyn, you and I reacted to different people there, because this is also sort of a blended family movie. These are two divorced performers who get together and bring their kids to one degree or another. There's a young woman named Ella Anderson who plays the Kate Hudson character's daughter. I think I have that right. Who I thought, I must have already done 5 movies that I don't know about, but not really, no.
I did the same thing. I went right on IMDb because she felt like somebody I recognized, and her performance felt so strong. Like I couldn't imagine. She's kind of fresh out of the gate. And the girl who plays Hugh Jackman's daughter is King Princess, who is a great pop star. Well, not star, but I feel like she is kind of not getting the traction in music that she deserves. I really enjoy her music. But I thought both of them were exceptional. And the little boy, he was great to me. Overall, I thought the kids added so much to this.
Yeah, Jacques, and we also got Fisher Stevens as some kind of manager or agent, or I kind of lost track, and Jim Belushi as whatever the thing that Fisher Stevens is.
The guy from Chicago.
Yeah. The deep casting on this was pretty good.
Yeah, I love when a movie will surprise you with someone that you weren't expecting. And Jim Belushi came out. I had to lean over to my husband and say, "That's Jim Belushi."
I did the same thing.
And he gives a great performance. And what's the other guy's name? Fisher
Stevens.
Fisher Stevens. Yeah, great. I mean, and how funny that his dentist is also his manager. And it's just they all just kind of like jump into this weird world, and the kids are actually the closest thing to a reality check in the film. And usually I would kind of check out when the stars, quote unquote, are not on the screen, but the kids really hold it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, just really quickly, is he's a recovering alcoholic, and that seems central to the movie, and that I think they play that really perfectly, that it's really central to the way he lives in addition to being lightning, to becoming lightning.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think they did it kind of, they did the right amount of it without it either being. It wasn't just a wave, but it didn't take over the narrative at all. Just really quickly, Jim. Okay, we got past Michael Imperioli, but just as a musician, who spent a lot of his life setting up and taking down, for live gigs. I mean, did the whole thing feel pretty real and legit to you?
Yeah, it did. I mean, they had a big band. I mean, those are hard to afford, but maybe not there, So, and honestly, I usually get a little hinky about tribute bands because oftentimes they're displacing actual bands with original music. So when I look at a venue and I see, mostly tribute bands now, they must be hurting. If it's all
a lot of times they're as there are guys or people, women who tried to do it the first way, being themselves and stuff like that, and it just didn't work. But
I worked for several years as a backup dancer and choreographer, stager for a Lady Gaga tribute act, about 10, 12 years ago. And it is a wild world. I mean, I have stories from that, including performing at Chris Angel's, like a christening for magician Chris Angel's family with a Lady Gaga tribute act. And I had a costume malfunction in which I had a Janet Jackson moment on stage in front of Chris Angel performing with a Lady Gaga. And that's when I quit that job, to be honest. But the tribute act world is a very interesting world.
Before I die, I want to ghostwrite Carolyn's memoir. Just the stories that I just know from these shows and stuff like that.
That was actually caused by Chris Angel, who made it disappear.
That's right.
I thought so.
Yeah, never go to a magician's. No, never go to a second location with a magician.
Right.
All right, so I think we have to pause there. But yes, the movie is Song Sung Blue. I think we all think you should watch it. You can stream it on your TV. It's not Tarantino, but it will touch you, I think. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll come back. We're going to do one of our line changes. And usually it's Jim coming out of the bullpen. This time it's Bill coming out of the bullpen.
Says she loves me, yes, she does. Gonna show me tonight, Hey, she got the way to move me, Sherry. She got the way to groove me. She got the way to move me, Sherry, baby.
Yesterday is done. See the pretty countryside.
Merrily we roll along, bursting with dreams.
Traveling's the fun.
Flashing by the countryside.
Everybody merrily
catching at dreams. Rolling along, rolling along, rolling along. Dreams don't die, so keep an eye on your...
So, first of all, we should say that Jim Chapdelaine has gone to the medical tent to have his hand iced. And coming in is Bill Usman. Bill Usman joining us now, professor of media studies at Sacred Heart University. We're going to talk about Merrily We Roll Along. Just indulge me for a second while I kind of set the stage for this a little bit. I'm almost literally set the stage for it. But so Merrily We Roll Along is a Stephen Sondheim musical. It may be the most tinkered with musical in the history of musicals. It's ever since 1981. It has been like a tubercular child who's being brought around to different specialists to see if they can, bring it to health or something. In 1981, both Hal Prince, the director, and Stephen Sondheim, they'd hit their stride. They were in their prime. Everything they did was considered gold. They staged this musical. It ran for, I think, 44 previews and 16 performances and closed. One of the things they did at the time, because this is a story told in reverse, people start out old and they get young, they went all the way with the young part, and they cast almost entirely either high school students or young college students, these young people in these roles. One of the people cast was the very young Jason Alexander, who played the role of Joe, but also Giancarlo Esposito and Liz Callaway. Liz Callaway's kind of gone on to be a kind of a successful cabaret and Broadway chanteuse. We're in this cast, but anyway, since then, a lot of efforts have been made to rewrite it, to add new songs, to beef up roles, to cut things. It's been staged all over the country. I saw a version of it in 2019 by the Fiasco Theater where they made it kind of less musical, more, they still did all the songs, but they didn't have fabulous singers singing them. It's actually the one that I've liked the most. But this is the one that was a hit. It was a hit with Jonathan Groff, Daniel Radcliffe, and Lindsay Mendez in the three key roles. Ran on Broadway for a while and now has been made into a movie. All right, I'm going to stop babbling and get us started. So Jacques, maybe get us started here. How do you think the translation on this particular version of Merrily went?
Well, this is my first time actually seeing Merrily We Roll Along. It's been done quite a bit, but it's in some ways also not done that frequently, at least not in the provinces. I remember when I was at Hartford Stage, Michael Wilson desperately wanted to do it.
Oh.
And it's expensive to do musicals, and it's a bigger cast than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember buying the one of the cast recordings. I don't remember if it was the original. And if you don't know the story, it's hard to follow because there's a lot of specificity in the songwriting, which is not surprising for Sondheim. So this was my first experience, and it's hard to see why it was so difficult to pull off because they did such a good job pulling it off. And apparently the book has been the problem.
Yes.
It's a musical theater lovers musical in terms of musical theater lovers love anything that's referential to musical theater. And it's about a songwriting duo, and their female friend, but the score is really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. Some of those songs are incredibly complicated. And I thought, maybe this was an earlier effort. And then I looked, and it came out right between Sweeney Todd and Sunday in the Park with George.
Mm-hmm.
So this is him at the height of his abilities. And the book, was not necessarily in his control. So seeing what Maria Friedman, is it, the director?
Yeah.
Who is also a performer, what she did with it, I think really clarifies the emotional journey, and the songs all work beautifully in it. For the most part, there's one or two clinkers, but
yeah, we can talk a little bit.
really
If we have time, we can talk about some of the clinkers. Although, so Bill, I know you pretty well, but I don't think I know what your relationship to Broadway musicals would be, and I'd just love to know how you felt about this one.
So, I do like Broadway musicals. I've been in a few, not on Broadway, but at little tiny hole in the wall places. And that
what was your signature role, would you say?
My signature role was not in a musical. It was actually in Zoo Story. No, in musicals I was
Did
always...
you play the bench? Or,
I did a bang-up job on that bench.
Yeah.
And no, in musicals I was always consigned to smaller things because I can't sing. So that, that's a little bit of an obstacle. But I do like them, and I wouldn't call myself by any means a Sondheim devotee. I've only seen a couple things. I do really, really love Into the Woods. So this was not something that I necessarily would have sought out on my own, but I also had no repulsion to having to watch it either, and I enjoyed it. I think it's a good production. There are some questions about how well they translated, a live show to something that we're watching on our television screens, but for the most part, that didn't bother me too much. And I think it's a really interesting story. I love the way it's told backwards, which I think makes it all the much more powerful. The performances are great, and there's some really, really standout moments. So all in all, I enjoyed watching it.
So, Carolyn, take this anywhere where you want it to go. Although pretty soon we're going to have to talk about Daniel Radcliffe. But
for sure.
Yeah,
That's
we're going to
one
have
of
to
those
talk about him.
performances, yeah.
But I am not a musical lover, which is hilarious because I have a degree in theater and I'm a dancer. I know Jacques is, I'm going to say it, I'm going in for the claws here. But I do like Into the Woods. I do. And I like Sondheim, I'm okay with him. He's cool. But so I wasn't going to be rushing to watch something like this. And in general, I have a problem with watching recordings of live performances like this where it's filmed. I kind of feel like it's the same thing as watching a well-recorded party that you weren't invited to. You're getting the idea of what happened at the party, but you're just not, it doesn't have that excitement. Everything was intended to be live and to be shared in this room in this moment. That's what theater is. So when I'm watching a recording of a show, I'm kind of meh. But as far as my fears of this holding my interest and everything, I thought it was great. And a lot of that is because of Daniel Radcliffe. Harry Potter, he killed it. I'm going to be, I've
He's
seen him.
He's a wizard, that guy, isn't he?
He is. I mean, I'd seen him in one kind of garbage horror movie. Other than Harry Potter, I think I've only seen him in one other thing. It was one not really well done horror movie. And then to see him in this and, that song, early on, Bill, in your notes, you probably have what year that song is supposed to be. I think it's it's early on in the show where they're on that TV appearance.
1973.
Yeah.
Franklin Shepard.
Yeah, Franklin Shepard.
So good.
It's a tough song. It's a very tough song to do. So I should say that I saw this musical on Broadway, this particular production on Broadway. I didn't have great seats. I think it was up in the balcony, so I couldn't see facial expressions as well. And it turns out I also needed to have cataract surgery. I didn't know that. But I will say that watching him from the balcony, I was struck by, and I don't think the movie really gets this across quite as well, what a wonderful movement guy he is.
Yeah.
He's got a kind of Charlie Chaplin quality to him almost, this kind of small, compact body that he can really move around in interesting ways. There's actually a movie called Swiss Army Man where he's dead for the entire movie. Has anybody seen it? And he's amazing. He's sort of mostly dead for the entire movie, and he is hilarious and funny.
And in this song, if I'm not mistaken, he never gets out of the chair.
Right.
Right.
Even though it's a really intense, high-energy song, and that was remarkable to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Jacques, there is another school of thought about Radcliffe in this musical, which is that Groff just still overpowers him. Groff is big and charismatic, and you really you need a Charlie. Charlie is the role that Radcliffe plays. You need a Charlie that can kind of stand up to his best friend, and that Groff is kind of overpowering him. And I see that argument, but I'm not sure who they could have gotten who could have done this better than Radcliffe, given who's available anyway.
Yeah, again, this was my first experience with it, and of any performance that I have a beef with, it's not his for sure, not Daniel Radcliffe's. I mean, Jonathan Groff is astounding in this piece, and his character. I mean, all three of the characters have a journey, and I think. In a certain sense, well, no, I was going to say maybe Daniel Radcliffe's character of Charlie does have sort of the least of the three journeys, but, I didn't feel it. I mean, basically Jonathan Groff sits there and glowers while Daniel Radcliffe is giving this insane performance of what is it, Franklin
Shepard.
Yeah.
Just to set this up, this is they go on a talk show together at a time when they are really out of communion with one another. This if you don't know the plot of this, I mean, it is the story. It's the Citizen King, Great Gatsby kind of money corrupts and makes you lonely narrative. It's the J. Kelly story. So and in this case, Groff plays this very talented composer, Franklin Shepard, who gets into the money, and it gets him away from his creative spirit. It tears him away from his artistic partner, Charlie Kringus, the Radcliffe role. And all of that just comes unglued and unfurled on a morning television show or whatever the heck it is that they are there. And he just takes over, Radcliffe's character takes over and just talks about how horrible this has become. And it's really, I mean,
it's
watching...
amazing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's an 11th hour number, but because the show goes backwards, the 11th hour number happens second in the show, which is really brilliant. It's really, really brilliant. And so you are then backfilling all of the story as the thing progresses to see where their friendship goes off the rails. So you see him go scorched earth before you even really, really understand why.
Yeah, and although I actually let you guys talk. I could talk a lot about this. As you can tell, I'm kind of invested in this. We should say an 11 o'clock number is it's a theater term for the song that kind of empties out the whole emotional content of the show near the end. Either there's a thing that changes the whole emotional balance of the story or something that just needs to come out. I would argue that the 11 o'clock song of Merrily We Roll Along is Not a Day Goes By, which is also sung at 9 o'clock, which I think is also... See, I think that's a problem. I think one of the reasons this thing hasn't been successful is it's very hard to follow that backward narration. You know, because, in fact, you start with the solution to the mystery, so to speak. You start with what's happened. You don't have to wonder what's happened. You're only it's more a how did it than a who done it.
I don't think I particularly found that hard to follow. And maybe that says something about watching it on my television screen when I'm, just sitting there and I'm not far removed from the stage and there aren't those other distractions. But I that wasn't a problem for me. And in fact, that structure made it all the more powerful for me. I think there's a scene very, very, very close to the end. It's either the ultimate or the penultimate scene when Mary and Frank and Charlie are up on the roof of this apartment building, and it's when Mary first meets the two of them. And you see the beginning spark of their little triad. And to me, that became all the more powerful because we already know the tragedy that's going to ensue. And it's actually such a deeply, deeply sad show, even though it has these wonderful moments of levity.
Yeah, Carolyn, I have two things I want to ask you about. But we haven't talked about Lindsay Mendez. She's the third member of the trio. She plays Mary. Mary is in love with Frank. She has no chance of having a life with Frank. It turns her into a pretty bitter but funny alcoholic. And I have to say that I didn't love Mendez's performance when I saw it on stage. When I saw the TV or the movie version of it, I could see the face acting that was going on, and that really helped a lot. But what did you think of her?
Yeah, I really liked her. I find her to be a performer who does have a really interesting face, like a face you want to watch. It tells the story. And I think that role in general could be done in a way, I think anytime you're playing kind of a bitter, mean drunk, it's hard. That's a hard line to toe and still be likable. And I thought she did a really great job with that.
I guess, the other thing that I would ask Jacques, and, we talked in the first segment about, even before we went on the air, we were all kind of checking out each other in terms of how did you cry watching Song Sung Blue? How close did you come to crying? I'm like the easiest cry on this show right now, so I cried a lot. But, and I did cry copiously during the 2019 stage version of the song of the show that I saw. But I don't know, Jacques, were you moved? Did you get verklempt? Did it excite your emotions in any way?
It excited my emotions But it didn't make me cry. I thought Jonathan Groff's journey in this was so exceptional, and I mean all three of them are terrific. And two of the three won the Tony Award for their performances. And quite frankly, I think she could have won, but there were issues, I guess, with her missing performances, and that may have affected voters being willing to support her. But she has a Tony from a previous production. But yeah, I mean, it was. I found myself very emotionally drawn in as we get to the end. They're so cynical and bitter at the beginning, and then to see them grow into their innocence and joy as we go backwards in time, I found extremely powerful.
Okay, we're going to take a break here so we all tend to recommend some stuff. Before we do that, I do want to recommend, Lonnie Price was the original Charlie Kringus, and he kind of became the keeper of the flame of Merrily We Roll Along. And he made a documentary called, I think it's called The Best Worst Thing That Ever Happened, which is a play on one of the songs in the show. But it's about that original Broadway flop with all these young people in it. And it is really worth watching, actually. And I would also recommend to people, if they get interested in this and all, listen to that 1981 cast album. For all the problems that show had, to me, that's the best I've ever heard that music sound. And particularly Lonnie Price singing the role of Charlie is just spectacular. So let's take a little break. We'll come back. The panel will make some recommendations.
Whereas old friends live and let live.
Good friends like and advise, whereas old friends love and forgive.
And old friends let you go your own way.
Help you find your own way. Let you off when you're wrong.
If you're wrong,
when you're wrong. Right or wrong, the point is old friends.
And we're back. Today we have a guest technical producer, but when I say guest, it's the Jedi Master himself. Gene Amatruda is our technical producer today, and Jonathan McPants is the producer of this episode. Also thanks to Meg Fitzgerald, who's kind of helping on site here. And we are going to make some recommendations here. Let's start with Jim Chapdelaine, because we haven't heard from him in a while. Jim, what are you going to recommend?
I have a very simple one. I'm not sure how to do it because I'm going to recommend this place for pizza, but I don't want everybody to go there because I don't want it to get too crowded. So if you take this recommendation, you're welcome to take me out to lunch there. Okay. Zephyr's Pizza in West Hartford is killing me lately. Just really great, and it's nice to have great pizza up at this part of the state. So there's that.
You also had a very successful Dave Portnoy encounter.
That's right, yeah. But me, Portnoy, weigh it out. And also, I've been listening to a lot of new artists lately, and I think I even sent this guy to you. His name is Monrovia. He escaped Civil War and somehow landed in Nashville, Civil War in Africa. And he has a song called Heavy Foot that I cannot stop playing. You know, people are going to start disliking riding in my car because I play it so often. So listen to Heavy Foot by Monrovia.
Yeah. We like it when you have the Zephyr Pizza in your car. So,
yeah. While that song is on.
Yeah. Carolyn, why don't you go next?
All right. Well, as we all prepare to get snowed in this weekend and you're thinking, oh, I should have been living somewhere warm, you should watch It's Florida Man on HBO. It'll deter you from ever wanting to be in Florida. Jacques and I have been texting about this. I made him watch it, and he was resistant and now says he'll listen to anything I say from now on. They interview the people that these very Florida things actually happen to, and they are in the episode. But then it also, kind of like Drunk History, has famous comedians reenacting these ridiculous scenarios, just getting eaten apart by a crocodile because you decided to run through a swamp. It's so good, and so it's just like a fun. You're snowed in and you need like 10 hours of TV watching. Really, just get in on this. Do it.
All right, let's see, Jacques, whether Carolyn stole your plan.
No, not at all. But I echo her recommendation. It's very funny, and it's not just comedians. It's some really good actors too, like Juliette Lewis and Swoosie Kurtz, and half of the fun is seeing who's playing these rednecks. So yeah, I will endorse her endorsement. I have a book that I want to recommend, and then a YouTube star. The book is The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. And it is, have you read it, Bill? I see you shaking, nodding.
I haven't read that. I've read some other things by him. I think he's fabulous.
He's fantastic. And it's horror, but it's historical horror, kind of a Native American vampire story. And it's really, really well written, and the language is gorgeous. And it's quite a wonderful read. And then the YouTube star is a drag queen named Luscious Massacre. And it's Lushious, and then massacre without an E on the end. I don't know why. And she drag-vestigates stores. So she will go in to various stores to see what monstrosities and atrocities these stores are trying to sell to the dolls. And it is so funny. She's kind of filthy, so it's not for children. But she's a Mexican-American plus-size drag queen who is hilarious. And I've learned so many new words because of her.
Before we go to Bill, I want to say that Dylan Ray's our technical producer, ordinarily is listening. He loves Heavy Foot, and he's very happy that Jim endorsed that. Bill, you have the floor.
I'm just mad that Luscious Massacre stole my name. But I was just recently absolutely gobsmacked by a television show, and it's just simply called Mo, M-O. It stars and was created by, and he writes and directs, Palestinian-American comedian named Muhammad Amir. And it's based on his own life as a Palestinian refugee trying to live in the United States and yet somehow still have some connection to his homeland. This is an absolutely amazing television show.
Where will we find this TV?
This is on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's in my top 10 all time.
Wow.
It's one of the very few programs on television in America that deal with Palestine at all. The series finale, it's only 2 seasons, set in Palestine, absolutely devastating.
I'll just quickly, I can't endorse this because we haven't really seen it yet, although I saw in 2006 the musical, Gutenberg the Musical, which is about another songwriting team, but they're not very good. And they're trying to do a musical, a sort of their version of Les Mis or whatever is going to be a musical based on Gutenberg.
Could use that in my class.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say that it's being done at Park Road Playhouse, and that certain people on this show may turn up on stage on certain nights. I don't think we're really allowed to say that much more than that, but because there's a little cameo in the musical. But yeah, go see Gutenberg. Thanks, Gene. You can play the music. Thanks for listening.